One of the biggest games of the week, maybe the biggest game of the week. It's the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. Dolphins favored by 2.5. Now we're in Buffalo. What?
No.
Bills favored by 2.5.
Yes.
Bills favored by 2.5. I apologize.
That's a big thing.
The team that just scored 70 is a 2.5-point underdog here.
Correct.
In Buffalo. I made a statement off air that as I think about it, I truly believe. They should have a rule that when these teams play, the September matchup is always in Miami. And they should always play in December.
I like that. It should be like Thanksgiving, you know? The Lions or whatever are always playing on Thanksgiving. Well, that should be part of the schedule to build in.
Bills have to deal with September heat.
Now that the
Dolphins have to deal with weather.
With the winter, with Buffalo snow. We've progressed from the days where Burt Bell had to do the schedule all by himself on his dining room table and make it work, you know? Now there's computers and stuff. You can throw in these variables and it will still function. So one of the variables now needs to be Miami, Buffalo. 1 in September in Miami, 1 in December in Buffalo. Let's make it work. I like that. It's the best idea you've had in a long time.
I have a lot of ideas, not a lot of good ones, though, according to you. So I'm glad we at least have that going. So we get the Dolphins with this otherworldly offense. And boy, it's just so easy right now to insult Dolphins fans. I'm not even trying.
Right?
It is just...
What'd you do? What'd you say?
So, you know, the charts are out there with like EPA per play and PFF grade, right? And those are fun charts because EPA per play, as I always say, is a team-based stat, right? It depends on your receivers. It depends on your play caller. It depends on luck. It depends on the opposing defense. PFF grade, though, is real and awesome, and it really best describes quarterback play, right? So you have some guys that are, you know, getting luck. And I pointed out the guys getting some good luck and some bad luck. And they said, where's Tua? Because he's like right on the line. Best PFF grade in a different stratosphere with EPA per play. So I said Tua's playing well, and he has a scheme and supporting cast that is out of this world. And that was insulting to Tua and Tua fans. I said he's playing well.
He is the best graded quarterback in the NFL.
He's the highest graded quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. He's playing the best, I believe. I don't think he's the best quarterback of all time or having the best quarterback season of all time, but his stats would indicate that because, again, I think the scheme and the Tyreek Hill and the playmakers and everything are putting this into 70-point territory. That's why it's there. Now, again, I don't think I'm insulting Tua.
No.
We talked a lot yesterday with JT O'Sullivan about it. I love the match of Tua with this Dolphins offense. I don't think you just plug anybody in and it's great. When you look at what Mike McDaniel's doing with all of the speed and the motion and everything, you need a quick trigger man to do that. And so the reason why I say it's like the Dolphins offense, it's like watching it on double speed, is because Tua's the one doing it, right? When he came out of Alabama, that was the thing. He's like, boom, 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 making quick decisions. Every now and again, like JT said, throw a duck down the field. You'll have a little, rough turnover-worthy play in there. But for the most part, he is working quickly and efficiently, throwing with anticipation, getting the ball in space. And the Dolphins are awesome to watch right now. And Tua is running the show.
Yeah. I feel like you're doing the thing you always criticize me for doing.
Absolutely doing it. Yes.
Reading into like 3 replies on Twitter and believe that's the zeitgeist.
I am absolutely doing that. I apologize.
Because I think it's fairly obvious to anybody looking at this in a rational way that Tua is playing well and benefiting from what is currently an absolutely unstoppable scheme. And there's various numbers that will show you that pretty easily. Like, Tua has the fastest average time to throw in the NFL still through 3 weeks, right? By far the fastest. And yet his average depth of target, it's come down slightly, but it's still 9.6 yards, which is high, and he's averaging 10.1 yards per attempt. Those things don't go together, right? The fastest average time to throw in the NFL is usually not going to produce 10.1 yards per attempt unless the thing at the other end of the throw is in some way, shape, or form making magic happen. And in Miami's case, that's happening in 2 different ways. Tyreek Hill and the rest of those receivers are incredible and incredibly fast, and they're wide the hell open because of all this short motion stuff that Mike McDaniel is breaking out. So I think it's fairly self-evident that Tua is playing very, very well, arguably the best in the NFL. And that's being turbocharged by what's happening schematically and with the receivers, et cetera, which produced 70 points last week.
Now, when you're 3 weeks in, there's all sorts of, conflating variables here.
Sure.
The Dolphins have played, they crushed the Chargers.
They played 2 bad defenses and 1 good one.
Now, are those defenses bad because they played the Dolphins or whatever? But they played the Chargers and the Broncos and crushed them. They had a lot of success against New England, but certainly not as much success as they had against the two AFC West teams. So Buffalo's defense right now, I think it's gotten lost in the mix. Like, Buffalo is a couple Josh Allen YOLO balls and a walk-off punt return from being 3-0, right? Like, the Bills should be 3-0 as long as Josh Allen didn't play like an idiot on Monday Night Football. I mean, that's the truth of it. So Buffalo's defense, I keep forgetting, I tweeted all these things out, but what have they given up? 26 points on that side of the ball? They've barely given anything up on that side of the ball. Now, at the same time, they played Zach Wilson. They played the Raiders and Garoppolo on the at home, and they played Sam Howell in Washington. So again, how much is that affecting things? But Buffalo's defense is playing really, really well. Probably the best they've played in years. Sean McDermott's calling the play, so I love this matchup. Right, both teams are going to get tested for real for the first time here.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. Like, Buffalo, it doesn't necessarily look as great with the schedule, but I think they've shown already that they are still one of the best teams in the NFL. So this is a real test for this Miami team. And even we talked about two bad defenses, one good one. That's reflected in basically all the numbers for Tua in particular. Like, look at just his stat performances in those two games versus the one. 10.4 yards per attempt against the Chargers, 11.9 against Denver, and 8.3 against New England, which is still really high, by the way, 8.3, but 2 yards lower than the other two. One touchdown, one interception against New England versus 3-1, 4-0 against in the other two games, passer rating, etc. So I suspect the offense still cooks, even against a much better defense, but it's not going to put up 70, which again is a fairly self-evident point to be making. So I think we're in this world where, and we saw this a bit last year as well, the first 6-7 weeks of the season, this offense is kind of going to be unstoppable. Like, you might slow it down, you might, make some inroads here or there, or maybe you get lucky with a turnover or two that stops the bleeding for a period, but you're not stopping this in the first third of the season. Stopping it is going to come maybe in the third third of the season, and then the middle third is going to be like teams exploring how to actually attack it. But Buffalo's defense is as good as anything they face, maybe better. It's not going to stop it. Like, Miami is still going to have success with that offense. So remember on the review show, I said Buffalo sacked Sam Howell 9 times, and it wasn't because their pass rush was out of this world or because the Commanders' offensive line was terrible. It was often because the Bills took away the first read for Sam Howell. And, oh, by the way, Sam Howell's going to hold the ball forever. Well, simply, it's not as simple as that always. There's push and pull here. Coverage sacks influence this. But just by the numbers of who it was charged to, Sam Howell sacked Sam Howell 4 times.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, out of the 9, right?
Yes.
I mean, it was like running into them and leaving clean pockets and that whole deal.
Right.
Tua's not going to do that with Miami. But what Buffalo can do is, and I'm curious of how much man coverage they're going to try to play. And again, you can't oversimplify that because they're putting Tyreek Hill at tight end and motioning him out, and like, you can't just man up and play press coverage. It's not that simple. But when Buffalo plays man coverage, they take away the first read, and that allows the pass rush to get home. It's going to be much harder to do that against Miami, but I do believe they can make Tua get to a second read far more often than Denver did. I know that. And it doesn't mean that's like a death knell for Miami. Tua's had some incredible throws, working through progressions, getting to his next read, again, throw into space. But to me, that's the battle. Can Buffalo, can Tre'Davious White, Christian Benton, can they at least slow down some of those receivers? The other element to this, too, is Miami can also run the ball really, really well, as we saw last week. And they've got that speed. And Buffalo's run defense has been better the last couple of years, but still could be susceptible to the big play. You block it up, there's some big plays in there.
Absolutely. So I'm excited by this game. I do think that Miami's offense is going to have success. I feel like, it's probably not going to be who knows? The variable on the other side is always, we now know that Josh Allen is spinning a roulette wheel every week, right? And when that roulette wheel comes up double zeros, you get that Jets game. And it's like, you never know when that's happening. Could be anytime he spins the wheel, but it probably won't be, right? That's the point I'm making. Like the roulette wheel, it's like, what, 1 in 39 chance? The chance for Josh Allen is probably bigger than that, but it's still pretty unlikely. Every time he spins it, most of the time you're going to get good Josh Allen. But any time, it could be bad. If it's good Josh Allen, I think this is going to be an absolute fireworks game.
Yeah, when they played in Miami last year, it was week 3. Allen ends up kind of hurting his elbow, and he was like, not to put everything on Josh Allen, but he had some opportunities to win that game for Buffalo, and he didn't take them. Right, he missed open throws in the end zone. He was bad in week 3 last year. 4 or 5 turnover-worthy plays, and that was like a big upset at the time. Right, I mean, we didn't know what Miami was. Now Miami is starting off similar as they did to what they did last year, and they're getting more respect. And Buffalo's shown some weaknesses because, again, they lost on Monday Night Football. So I love it. It's a great back-and-forth matchup. To me, it does come down to, I think Buffalo has the firepower to hang with the Dolphins, right? Even though they don't have the gaudy numbers, the same gaudy numbers that Miami has, they've got the firepower to hang, right? Miami hasn't had to face the Jets defense yet. They did have to face New England. They didn't have to face the Jets defense like Buffalo did, though. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a good one. And to me, it comes down to Tua when everything's not perfect for him. Is he going to stay on point? Will he avoid the mistakes? Will Allen avoid some of those mistakes as well? So the heavyweight battle here in week 4.
The one other thing I would say about the Miami offense, Buffalo defense matchup, we talked with JT O'Sullivan, QB School, yesterday. Miami's plan was just, I love speed. I think speed's great. Let's get all the fastest guys we can find, right? Buffalo's defense is not fast, comparatively speaking. Their secondary is stuffed full of guys that run 4.5. The fastest player they have, I think, in the secondary is Kyer Elam, who they bench. They don't play. Like, he's jumped on the depth chart by Christian Benford, who's a 4.5 guy, right? Like, their fastest linebacker was Tremaine Edmonds, who left in the offseason. Like, this is not the fastest defense in the world. Now, it's still a very good defense. They're schematically smart. They funnel offensive players to the right areas, and they offset the speed thing by alignment and by scheme and things. But this is an offense right now that is stressing defenses and stressing alignments and stressing assignments and role responsibilities. Sooner or later, there's going to be a matchup where Tyreek Hill is running against a guy that runs 4.5, and I don't know that you can stop that becoming a problem.